Peace. What's up, everybody? This your brother, Mr. Holipsism. It's freezing as hell in New York right now. I think it was like 4 degrees or some crazy shit like that. Alexa, what's the temperature right now?
Right now, it's 10 degrees. Tonight, expect a low of 9 degrees.
10 degrees with a low of 9 tonight. Crazy. But anyway, this show, I was thinking about this because me and my cousin did a show years back called The People, Fuck the People. And it's an inside joke between me and him because it was this. Remember, I don't know if y'all remember. Was it "I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker"? That old movie, and it was Bernie Casey was in the movie, and Keenan Ivory Wayne's character asked him about. He said, "The people need you, man." He said, "The people." Yeah, the people was the one that had the biggest problem with me. The people was the one that said that I was too violent. He said, "The people, fuck the people," and we've been using that ever since because we just thought that was so funny because it represented what we was feeling. It's like we out here. My cousin, he says that he always admires me and people like me because I still care. He said he stopped caring a long time ago because the people don't give a fuck about people who actually work in their interests. They don't give a fuck about you. As a matter of fact, if you stand up and you say something, they're your biggest critics. See Colin Kaepernick. Because no matter what you feel about Colin Kaepernick, I think that we can all universally agree that had Colin Kaepernick just not said anything, he would probably be enjoying a football career right now and a lot of money. Despite what you feel about him, you can like him, hate him, whatever. You have to agree that had he said absolutely nothing and not injected himself into the police brutality thing or given a fuck about black people and what's going on, he would be having a nice, prosperous football career, making a lot of money, getting blowjobs in the jacuzzi, and all of that. But what did he do? He decided to stand up, say something about what's going on. And who's the biggest critics of him? The people that he was defending. The people that he was standing up for are the people that's got the most mouth about how he ain't shit. So then let me ask you a question. What's the motivation for somebody to actually stand up for you? Because your biggest complaint about Michael Jordan was, well, Michael Jordan don't say nothing about what's happening in the community. Can you fucking blame him? Look at what happened to Kaepernick when he said something about what's going on in the community. So you hate Kaepernick when he stands up and says something for you, and you hate Michael Jordan when he don't say nothing about you. You've created a condition where you lose no matter what you do. And when you're in a lose position, most people say, fuck you. Fuck it. I'm going to just do what I do, not give a fuck about anybody, stay under the radar, live my life, and that's that. Can you blame them? See, everybody wants to point to the person making money or the person with the status. I'm pointing to you, the people, because who do you defend when somebody stands up for you? Peace. Sorry, I'm running my mouth. Jacob's dad, good morning. Mashia Muhammad, good morning. Thank you all for being with me. Peace, Ronan Black. Oh, you're working? I'm working in it tonight. I'm going to be chilling today. I'm going to be chilling out. I ain't going nowhere. I'll probably order some food, chill out, whatever. I'm not fucking with that until I have to go to work tonight. So I'm going to enjoy it while I can. But yeah, the topic of the show is the people, fuck the people, part 3. I have part 1 and 2 if you go through my archives. And how I describe this show is, ever wonder why it is so difficult to get people in either position of authority or high social status to stand up or say anything in the interest of the so-called people? The answer is simple. Because the people don't support those who work in their interests and fiercely defend those who don't give a fuck about whether they live or they die. So until the people get a clue, don't expect people with something to lose to put their neck on the line when they know the people will not have their back. And then I posted a link of a protester heckling the Starbuck billionaire Howard Schultz, which I thought it actually made my day. It actually made my day. Because the guy said what was on the minds of everybody with some sense. It's like, nigga, sit your fucking ass down and go somewhere, you billionaire asshole. Nobody gives a fuck about you. The only reason why we know who you are is because you paid to get TV time. Everybody seems to think that because they're rich, they they know about politics and first of all that they have any interest in the well-being of the people. Presidential salary is $400,000. Why would a billionaire go to a job that pays $400,000? Has anybody asked themselves that question? That's like a person making 100,000 or a six-figure salary, and they say, you know what? I'm gonna go and become a McDonald's worker because I'm a man of the people. Do you believe that shit? Ain't nobody leaving and going to a job that pays less unless they can see how they can benefit from that job. There must be something about that job that will end up having them get more money than if they just stayed in the position that they was in. They can make even more money if they was at that lower paying job because the perks are much greater in terms of allowing them to do certain business deals and stuff. See Donald Trump. Do y'all really think that these people are men and women of the people? That they give a fuck about the people? They're trying to be the president of the United States is because you're really concerned about where this country is going. Are you that fucking stupid? And this is going to be an unusual show because I'm not really dealing with nationhood for us and land infrastructure nationhood on the continent. I'm speaking about the situation here in America and why it is so difficult to get people to support things that work in their interest because this is fascinating to me. I'm into, like I said, I watch politics like Game of Thrones or The Wire or Breaking Bad. It's like I look at it for pure entertainment purposes. I don't have any vested interest in it. I have no dog in the fight. So it allows me to sit back and look at shit objectively. Peace, Nico. Peace, Fatty Black. Peace, Mr. Cat. Yeah. So what made me do this show is I saw like it's just this narrative that's going around and it is really pissing me off, and I wanted to talk about it. Do you know that the problems that are faced here in America, and I'm not just talking about with black people, I'm talking about America in general, can be easily fixed, easily solved. But the problem is that the people that's supporting are pushing forth the policies and positions that would actually fix the problem are the ones who are being called radicals, extremists. And I put a post in the my Facebook profile, and I asked the question: what are the policies of people that are perceived as being radical and extremists? What are the policy positions? Because if you say somebody's a radical, oh, this is radical, crazy people. So what's the policies of these crazy people? And you know what the policies are? Medicare for all. So in other words, a radical concept is for people to be able to be sick and be treated without going broke. That's radical and that's extreme. Free college tuition. Oh my God. People educating the populace, educating your masses is a radical and extreme idea. Minimum wage and living wage. I personally say living wage. Fuck the rich. The rich can suck a dick as far as I'm concerned. Living wage. The wages should be in line with the productivity, not some minimum or minuscule. Fuck that. Because nobody gives a maximum. Is there a maximum wage? If you're going to give a minimum wage, then what's the maximum wage? So the maximum wage is unlimited, but yet you got a limit on the minimum wage. Why not have a maximum? That's why when the girl, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who by the way is making me love her every day because she's pissing people to fuck off. And if you have the system and the establishment going against you that hardcore, you must be saying something that's touching on some truth. And she is. In the 1950s, do you know what the marginal tax rate was for rich people? Look it up if you think I'm lying. In 1950 was the beginning of what they call the golden age of economics in America, economic advancement in America. 1950. The marginal tax rate for the rich was 91%. And there was a wave, that golden age of economic advancement went from 1950 to about the 1970s, when the rich was taxed at 91% marginal rate. Now, for those who don't understand what marginal rate is, doesn't mean that the average person is taxed at 91%. It means the rich, the ultra rich. So once you get to a certain point, I forget what the actual amount was, but what she proposed was anything after 10 million, that dollar after the 10 millionth would be taxed at a 70%. She projected 70%. It was even less than the golden economic age. Um, So that means that the people that's going to be taxed at that progressive rate under her plan is people over $10 million. I want to ask you, everybody in this chat room, there's a few people in this chat room right now. How many of you give a fuck about a millionaire, somebody over $10 million being progressively taxed at about 70%? And keep in mind, that 70% is not including loopholes. Once you get to all the tax loopholes and the ways that they can get around taxes, you're really talking about 40%. How many of you give a fuck about a $10 million person getting taxed at a 70% on even 91% marginal tax rate? In the chat room, just put yes, no, whether you care, whether you don't care. I'm just curious. Oh, did I miss anybody? Peace, Cordoro Davis. Peace, Kenya the King. Kenyatta the King. Sorry. Thank you, Anthony. Anthony Dickerson. Peace to everybody. If I didn't say, if I missed you, I'm sorry. Nico says no. Monsieur Muhammad says no. Kenyatta the King says no. Jacob's dad says, I don't give a damn. So, but think about this. Me and my girlfriend had to talk about this. I don't know if she's listening. She probably is listening because I said, I want you to think about this. Jeff Bezos is worth $100 billion. Now, when you raise this point, the first thing you get is, you're trying to attack the rich. Nobody cares about you being rich. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Adrian. That's why I said at the beginning of the show, this is just something that I'm talking about what's going on here. Ultimately, we shouldn't care because if we have our own system, none of this shit would mean anything. But this is what I'm talking about today. But I hear you, and you're right. Fatty Black says, is this 10 million yearly or simply having 10 million? No, it's yearly. So in other words, if you're taxed 10 million, you make 10 million this year, anything after 10 million gets that progressive tax. Then next year you make 10 million, everything after the 10 million gets that progressive tax. And who cares? I could give a shit whether it's yearly or simply having 10 million. How many people are going to have 10 million fucking dollars? I don't give, and the thing that I'm saying is, everybody wants to make it seem as if, oh, well, it's the principle. What's the fucking principle? Nobody over 10 million gives a fuck about these people who need health care, who need to educate their children, who can go to the hospital without being, putting up their house and getting their house sold. Nobody gives a fuck about them. So why should you, the person on the bottom of the fucking society, give a fuck about somebody's plight because they made their taxes they're being taxed progressively over their $10 million mark? Who gives a fuck? But this is where we are right now. I posted a link in the chat room in the description box of this billionaire, this asshole, Starbucks idiot called Howard Schultz. Does anybody know who Howard Schultz is? I know I don't. I didn't know who the motherfucker was until he decided to grace us with his presidential campaign. And you know how he did it? He, he paid for it. He paid to get on all the major networks, all the major television shows to announce his presidency that nobody gave a fuck about. And so it kind of made me feel good when somebody in the audience actually called him out on it. They called him, you billionaire asshole. You egotistical billionaire asshole. It was about time that somebody could just openly voice what everybody's feeling. And I just thought it was great. So I posted it. Jacob's dad. Oh wait, Davey says Holip, but we should stop supporting them. It's our fault for supporting their business. Davies, I'm gonna tell you honestly, we're not gonna stop supporting them as long as we live in here in this country. The whole protest thing, it sounds really good, but it ain't gonna work, and it hasn't really worked. What we need to do, the ultimate protest, is to get the fuck out of here and establish our own country and our own nation. That way, we don't support them just by default because we're not here. Of course, and I'm talking about obviously not all of us. The people that's here need an option. Maybe if they had an option on the continent when we get our nation state build up, they wouldn't have to support these guys. I don't think anybody has to get Starbucks coffee, do they? Is that a necessity in your life to get overpriced coffee? You know, Amazon is another story because Amazon um, really has no borders. You know what I'm saying? It's like a global country company. I don't know why I can't talk today. Um, Jacob's dad. When the rich was taxed that during that golden age, middle Americans could afford to buy property. Yes. I live in Los Angeles. It's damn near impossible to buy anything decent. True. My ultimate point with this whole thing is this. I don't want to belabor the point. The reason why you can't get, the reason why you're being overtaxed, the reason why you can't afford anything, the reason why when you go to a coffee shop, a fucking croissant and a cup of coffee costs you damn near $7 is because rich people are not paying taxes. You would think that this would be the easiest sell if you're a political party. If you're a political party, this would be the easiest way. Like you can't defeat the Republicans and Donald Trump with if you was to endorse the policy positions of, let's say, a Bernie Sanders. Of course you could. So the question is, why doesn't the so-called liberal party endorse a Bernie Sanders policy? It gets back to what I've always said. There's no such thing as a liberal agenda. It's a fantasy. It's sort of like a carrot on a stick that Republicans tried out so they can get their voters to the polls. It doesn't exist because even the so-called radical left positions are not endorsed by the Democratic Party. If you look at it, Kamala Harris, I'll give you an example. Kamala Harris came out in a town hall and said that she was for Medicare for all. 24 hours after she said it, she walked that back. If this was a so-called liberal agenda or the leftist, far left crazies, why would she walk it back? If that's supposed to be your base, ask yourself that question. And I'm going to talk about Kamala Harris in a minute. And let me just say this, just to preface my statements. Kamala Harris being married to a white man is like on the pecking order of problems with Kamala Harris. And out of 1 out of 10, I would put that one at 10. There's a lot of problems with Kamala Harris that far exceed who she's fucking at night. I'll just say that. I don't really fucking care who she fucking. But if you want to not vote for her, don't let it be for some stupid shit because, oh, she got a white man. Fucking, this is America, man. People going to have white people, Puerto Rican, everything else. I don't give a shit about that. Start talking about her policies. Thank you, Anthony. I agree. Liberal is just another compensatory fantasy Negroes use. Yes, exactly. But the whole purpose for me doing this show, get the likes up, hit the like button, y'all. Peace, Kalen Bowler. Peace. Jeff Bezos. Let me get back to Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is worth $100 billion, right? Why does Amazon need to be subsidized by taxpayers? You're worth $100 billion. Let me show you how rich Jeff Bezos is. Do you know what it would cost to get rid of homelessness in America? $30 billion. If Jeff Bezos wanted to, he as an individual can get rid of homelessness. $30 billion out of $100 billion, he wouldn't even feel that. But guess what? Jeff Bezos had to be forced by Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna. They made a bill called the Stop Jeff Bezos Act, where they were trying to get him to pay his workers a minimum wage. Now think about that. This motherfucker is worth $100 billion and he can't pay his own workers. Shouldn't everybody that works for Amazon at least be taken care of? Like, shouldn't they all have a living wage? How would that hurt? Jeff Bezos, there's nobody. I fuck Jeff Bezos. I can't. If I were to give you $100 billion and you went out, you can get high, you can smoke crack, you can do anything you want to try to spend that money, and you would never be able to crack $100 billion. If you were totally irresponsible and went out there and bought everything, I mean, you can get like a toilet seat that costs $10,000. Just lose your mind and do any outrageous thing you could. You could not crack $100 billion. And I'm supposed to be, and this guy has $100 billion, and he's trying to pay off government officials so he can get a tax cut. So $100 billion is not enough for one man. And you expect me to feel sympathy for these rich assholes? Tax them at 99%. I could give a shit what the marginal tax rate is. And keep in mind, to go back to what hold on, let me go back up. To go back to what, sorry, I'm forgetting. Let me see. Oh, yeah, to go back to what Adrian Hibbert said, who's 100% correct. It's a shame that we even have to fucking have these conversations. But it's frustrating to me because the whole point of this is not about land infrastructure nationhood on the continent. It has nothing to do with that. It's the dynamic that exists where the people, and I'm not talking about, because black people are included in this, but the people in general, as a general concept, do not support the people that is on their side. If I was involved in this American system, like where I actually gave a fuck about the presidency and the government and trying to make this a better place and all this fucking bullshit, if I actually gave a shit about that and I looked at the layout of the land right now as an American, let's say I wasn't into this black power shit, I'm an American and I'm caring about American issues, I'd be voting for Bernie Sanders. I'd be supporting Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And if my party, the so-called Democratic Party, decided they was going to put somebody else besides Bernie Sanders, I would tell them to go fuck themselves. You can say what you want to. Bernie Sanders and those people who endorse his policies, those are worker-friendly policies. Those policies support the working class person. So if you got a problem with somebody pushing policy Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna were the one who's responsible for making sure that Amazon workers got a minimum wage. That's a fact. You can like them, dislike them, whatever. Let's look at this objectively and factually. Had they not passed that bill or tried to pass that bill, Bezos would not have given his Amazon workers a minimum wage. And he took back certain things out of them because he's a fucking asshole. Yeah, Anthony, I agree. Bezos is a great example of why we have to leave. This motherfucker, Amazon is getting subsidized to build a headquarters in New York, and this motherfucker has got a helipad that's getting paid for by tax dollars. He has to get subsidized for his helipad. He can't take it out of the 100 billion that he has from the worth of his company. And it's at the point now where I can't even get mad at Bezos. What about the assholes who are allowing this shit to go down? It's called taxpayers. I must admit, there are New Yorkers who are pissed off about it and who are making an issue about it. But that's a small percentage. The vast majority of them don't even give a fuck. And if anything, they support Jeff Bezos taking their tax dollars. What I'm speaking about is the dynamic of people not supporting people that stand with them. If you're a working class person, wouldn't it make sense to support somebody who supports the working class with policy? So if the people that they pushing forward to be president don't support Medicare for all, don't support you having a living wage, don't support free college tuition, don't support a Green New Deal like they say where they're trying to use get off of fossil fuels, then why the fuck are you voting for them? They tell you what their policy. I give you. Not even do they tell you what their policy. Kamala Harris announced her presidency, run for presidency, with an ad. Go and look at that ad, and you tell me one policy position that she proposed in that ad. It's to the point now where you don't even have to have a policy. Just say, "Oh, we got to come." You just use a bunch of platitudes and vagaries, because, like I said, it's just like the conscious community. They love the vague and they love the abstract. But once you start hitting them for tangible, concrete shit, they run for the tall grass. And it's the same thing with politicians. If you ask Bernie Sanders, what does he stand for? He'll tell you Medicare for all, free college tuition, a living wage, Green New Deal, blah, 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 blah. He runs off a laundry list of policies. Same thing with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And I don't want anybody to get the impression that I'm telling you to go vote for these people or whatever. I don't give a fuck about that. I don't give a fuck about that. What I'm saying is, how do you help people who don't want to help themselves? And this is why the BAIO is so important. This is why I've been talking about connecting with people of like mind. You know what I'm saying? You got to connect with people of like mind. You got to get people together who believe in the same things that you believe in, and y'all got to work together to make sure that that shit happens. That's why I notice a lot of people in the BAIO. I try to tell them, man, don't get frustrated by what niggas is doing, because the niggas right now are, as Dinas eloquently put it, the voteps. The voteps, they are the ones that have to deal with this madness that's going on. The voteps are the ones that got to deal with the Democratic Party. The voteps are the ones that got to deal with the Republican Party. Those are the ones that have to deal with this madness and all of this minutia of bullshit that's going on. I mean, if you're in America and you're an American, it should be simple. Vote for the person who supports working class policies. That's simple. Stop voting for rich motherfuckers. Stop supporting billionaires. But that's why it's wonderful to be a black nationalist and an African centered progressive, because We have no dog in this fight. As a matter of fact, the worse it is in America, the better it is for us. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? The worse it is for black people in America, the better it is for us. We recruit more people because more people say, you know what, fuck this shit. We need something of our own. And I support the people that's down for that actually want something of our own. I want to be around those people. And that's why every day we get more and more people signing up to the BAIO. Peace, Adjoa. Peace, she simply unique. Peace. Peace back, black privilege. I'm sorry if I didn't say peace to y'all because I'm running my mouth. Please forgive me. Ah. But I hope people understand where this is coming from, man. I don't, like I said, I don't have a dog in this fight, man. And the American thing is American thing. America's going to do what it does. The people in America, quite frankly, are fucking stupid. And they're going to support billionaires like Donald Trump and then think that billionaires are going to work in their interest. That's how dumb they are. They voted for this motherfucker thinking that he was a man of the people. And guess what? They're going to vote for Kamala Harris. They might even run Hillary Clinton again. That's how fucking stupid these motherfuckers are. So you know what we should be doing as black African nationalists? Jeff Johnson, even as a black nationalist, you should still be fighting politically if you don't plan on leaving. If you're a black nationalist and you don't plan on leaving, then you're not a black nationalist. That doesn't make any sense to me, brother. Fighting politically, why? Here in America, if I'm a black nationalist or progressive, my plan is to get out of America. If you plan on fighting here politically, then you're a black power American and you're a militant integrationist. Join that camp. Peace, Odos. Peace, Fly Guy. And peace, Jeff. Peace, Jeff Johnson. But yeah, we don't have a dog in this fight, y'all. Bottom line, we don't have a dog in this fight. Donald Trump being president actually helped us out. She simply unique says you can't have a black nation in America. Thank you. Peace, Jaleel Henry. Peace, Deontay. Yeah, man. That's why I love the fact that we have more and more people joining the BAIO. I love the fact that we have more and more people that acknowledge that the solution to our collective problems is nationhood. Land, infrastructure, nationhood. I mean, I can tell you about the minutia of the political system here in America because, like I said, I watch the political system sort of like y'all watch Game of Thrones and, you know, Power and all that. It's funny to me. It's interesting to me. It's interesting to me to see the contradictions, to see how people actually work against their own best interests. Yeah, Davies, I was talking about the Starbucks guy. He's just an example of the problem here in America. You know, people think that rich people are going to save them, when in actuality, rich people need to get their asses fucking taxed at a 91%, 90% marginal rate. And don't worry, don't feel sorry for them because once they get past their tax loopholes, it'll be down to about 42% or something like that. So they're not going to really be taxed at 90%. But they're going to pay more taxes than they're paying right now because that's the reason why nobody can afford health care. That's the reason why they don't want universal health care. It's not that they can't pay for it. They don't want to give up. Jeff Bezos says he can't afford to give up taxes when he makes a measly, paltry $100 billion. He can't give up taxes. Cry me a river for Jeff Bezos. Cry me a river for Howard Schultz. And I'm glad that AOC is scaring the shit out of them. I'm glad that Bernie Sanders is scaring the shit out of them. I'm glad that Elizabeth Warren is scaring the shit out of them. Anybody that's talking about taxing the rich is somebody who the working people need to support. Now I'm talking about if you're in this America thing and we can do it right here and Donald Trump is your president, then why the fuck are you voting for billionaires? Why are you having the back of people that don't give a fuck about you? This country's crumbling and I don't want to be caught under the rubble. We not, no DOS. Anybody that's in the BAIO is not going to get caught in this nonsense because you're working toward getting out of here. And I hope that we're going to have the flyer out soon. A couple of brothers is working on it, but we're going to put that flyer out about the trip to Rwanda in November. I want to get a lot of people on that trip. It's happening. It's happening. We're going to Rwanda. And like I said, this is just more diplomacy than anything else. It's not like Rwanda is going to be the nation state or anything like that. We just want to be there and support this developing nation. You know, make some content. Paul Kagame. I hope that happens. If he's in Rwanda at the time that we go. Brother Danubian, yes, I support whomever wants to tax the greedy rich. So when you get these commentators up here talking about radical left that want to tax that, yeah, your answer should be, who gives a fuck about the rich? Jeff Bezos can't pay his own people not a minimum wage. He can't pay his own people a living wage. Everybody that's a part of that Amazon machine should be sitting pretty right now. If you're a worker, you should have a union in Amazon. You should have stock in Amazon, and you should have a living wage. Something that falls in line with the productivity of the economy, not some fucking minimum wage. A minimum wage is a good start. That's the very least that you can have. But what you should be pushing for is a living wage. Things that we wouldn't even have to talk about in our own nation. Because one thing I will tell you, I'm not against the rich, but I am against the rich thinking that they can have a free ride on the backs of working class people. Most people are not against the rich. I give this example all the time. When you go to a hotel, you can't get the penthouse. Or you don't expect to get the penthouse. You know that there's probably somebody there who makes more than you that can afford the penthouse. So what do? Do you attack them when they come out of the penthouse? Most people could care less. They're like, oh, snap, that must be nice. Da 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 da. Nobody cares. They're not attacking the rich just because you're rich. If they can get a nice room in the hotel, they're satisfied. They can get a hotel room. Some people can get a hotel room that can oversee the beach. Some people get a hotel room where it's in the back of the hotel. They can't oversee the beach, but they don't cry about it. They know I can only get what I can afford. And if I can't afford it, I'm not going to get mad at the person that can. So nobody has a problem with rich people. Fucking Tony Stark is rich. When you go to the movies, you see Tony Stark is a billionaire. Bruce Wayne is a billionaire. Nobody is against them because they're rich. If anything, they think, wow, that's cool. Tony Stark's got some cool tech. Bruce Wayne got some cool stuff. Nobody's hating on them because they're rich. But I tell you one thing, how many billionaires you see on the big screen where the whole movie is about them avoiding taxes and trying to keep working class people in the poorhouse? Then I don't think anybody would be thinking they're cool. So like I said, the straw mans are just out here, boy. the straw mans are just running amok. But I think that everybody understands who's in the BAIO how to differentiate between what's real and what's not. You know, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir with that. Let me read in the chat room. I'm running my mouth. Uh, let me go scroll back up. Okay. Fatty Black says, it kills me when I hear the conscious community say that, because when we bring up nationhood, they say we got to do it here first. Yep. Jim Denson says, are we wrong to tell these Negroes to actually ask for something like the Jews, Japanese, and others instead of fighting for others? As a black, I still feel sorry for lost niggas with no skills. Are we wrong to tell these Negroes to actually ask for something? You mean ask who, Jim Denson? I'm being serious. I don't know who you're Are you saying ask the government for something? I just want you to clarify that. Um, Anyone making 50K or less should not be taxed, period. I agree. As a matter of fact, Bernie Sanders and the other girl they're trying to lower taxes for the working class. The working class should have their taxes lowered, and the working class should be given a lot of subsidies for working, because there's an economic term that says whatever you subsidize, you get more of. Where's our subsidies? Working class people contribute the most to the economy. Working class people contribute the most to transportation because we got to get to work. Why don't we get subsidies for that? We should be getting tax breaks for our transportation because we're participating the most. We're working. We should be getting subsidies. If you give subsidies to working class people, guess what? There'll be more. Imagine this. Let's say you have to pay full price to get on the train if you're not working. But if you're actually working and have a job, you get a discount off getting on the train. That means you subsidizing working instead of subsidizing not working. In America, it's the exact opposite. If you don't have a job, you get more government subsidies. So you're actually subsidizing people not working. Am I making any sense? Let me know. Oda says we can't do anything in America that would totally liberate us. We could have taken over a long time ago because black people were integrated into the economy in an advantageous way. Right. Except we don't understand what power is. Brother Danubian says you're making too much sense, Holip. Really? I don't get that too often. Thank you. Oda says, however, that was around the time that the black leadership was pushing integration with whites. Now black people are being shuffled out of the mainstream economy. Exactly. Which brings me back to Killer Mike's Netflix documentary called Trigger Warning. Please watch that. Let's see. Oh, Dendada, peace, what's up? Sorry, I'm like trying to read what the people are typing because I'm so busy running my fucking mouth. I'm missing a lot of what your guys are saying. Okay, I think I got basically the gist. But yeah. Yeah, what I was saying. In a properly functioning society, this is what would go on, and this is going to be our society. And if you're thinking that you're going to come to Afrikstan to enrich yourself individually, you're going to have a fucking problem. You know what I'm saying? If that's your main goal, you're going to have a fucking problem. Because I want a government that's for the people. The people have to be taken care of. If the fucking Nordic countries can decide that, listen, we're going to give our people the best quality of life in the world, shouldn't we be able to outdo them? They're number 1, 2, 3 on the happiness index. Their people have no problem. If they get sick, they go to the hospital, they get taken care of, they go home. A lot of these Nordic countries actually have what they call a basic minimum income. Universal basic income. Is that what it's called? Universal basic. I think that's what it's called. They have that. They actually give money to the people, which you can afford to do when you're not wrapped up in 20-year-long war, where you're fighting wars in 8 different countries. If you subsidizing helipads for billionaires, how do you tell people that you can't afford universal health care But a billionaire, somebody that's worth $100 billion, we can afford to subsidize his helipad and his headquarters. We can afford to subsidize his workers because they don't make enough money to live. Is this the type of thing that we want to take and transport to our own nation? This is the reason why we talk about this stuff. You can't do something right unless you realize what you're doing wrong. And all you got to do is look in America and see everything that's being done wrong. And we got to make a decision that we're not going to bring that bullshit over to our new fledgling nation. So there's a method to my madness, man. There's a method to my madness. I'm talking about this stuff not because I'm a Captain America Negro. You know me better than that. Not because I'm a Black Power American or militant integrationist. You should know me better than that. All of this has a purpose and a meaning. And the purpose of talking about this stuff is so that we don't make the same fucking mistakes that this country made and other countries are making. If you want to be the best, which is what I want our country to be, the best. I want our nation to be the #1 nation in the world. And the only way that that can happen is when you take care of your people and make sure that your people are taken care of. And when your goal as a government is to make sure that your people have a better quality of life, or not even better, the best quality of life. And it yields benefits. If we pour our money into education in our new nation, I want our new nation to have as on their pie chart, our educational system should be the best in the fucking world. Hands down. The best in the world. Unlike America, where if you look at their pie chart is the top military in the world. And we got to talk about this stuff because there's a lot of Black people who feel that we should be pushing military more than we should education. Should we have a military? Yes. But we should have a balanced economy. We shouldn't be having 75% of our money going to the military and some little sliver going to the education. No. If you want to produce intelligent people, you got to educate them. And I'm more interested in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics than I am about you being educated in religion. All religious courses in our universities are going to be an elective. If you want to take that shit, take it. But you're going to learn science. You're going to learn math. And I truly believe that there should be mandatory military service. I was on the fence about that, but I really think that that's it. I don't see any harm in people coming out of college doing 2 years of military service. It's not like we're gonna be warmongers. It's not like we're gonna be you know, going across the globe like bombing people. But it would be nice to have our people have being a part of the military could actually allow you um to be in other parts of Africa, in other nations and countries in Africa. Because that's where we would be doing the majority of our diplomacy with. It's other African nations. What's up? What's up, Nationhood Nico? Who else is I missing? Did somebody else coming in? Born E Allah. I missed you, didn't I? Peace. Fly Guy 535 says, I agree, Holip. We should learn from living in this shithole country and not make the same mistakes. True indeed. Learn from the mistakes of others so we don't repeat it. Thank you, Fatty Black. This is why I'm against the idea of going to Africa and just blending in to an already established nation. We would then lose the advantage of having control of our tax dollars. I believe I touched on that before, but I'll just briefly touch on it again. Everybody on the African continent can say that they have a piece of the African continent. It is disrespectful to say to the African diaspora and the African American that we cannot have the same. So the mere fact that somebody thinks that if we have our own nation, that that's somehow some affront to the African nations that already exist, well, then we already starting off on bad terms. We already started off on bad terms because you're telling me that the people that were robbed from their homeland and brought up to be the children of white people for about 400 years do not have a right to express themselves and express their reality on the continent. You're saying that we ain't real Africans. And I'm not supposed to take that as an offense? You're 100% right, man. That's not even up for negotiation, Mr. Cat. Daniel Kyles, Holip, are we looking for a nation only for African Americans or for the entire African diaspora? Both, Daniel Kyles. Although I think that the African Americans are going to make up the vast majority of it, but I'm including the entire African diaspora. Now, the question is, what do you mean by African diaspora? Is somebody who lives in Jamaica a part of the African diaspora? Is somebody who lives in Trinidad a part of the African diaspora when you have Trinidad, when you have your own country? I'm talking for Africans who don't have their own country. That's what I'm talking about. If you have your own country and your own nation, you are not a part of the African diaspora as far as I'm concerned. Because you got your independence, you got your nation. So what's the deal? That's just me. If anybody feels differently, you are more than likely, you are more than happy to disagree with me. I'm talking about Africans in America do not control America. We have no land of our own. Africans in the UK do not control the United Kingdom. I'm talking about these countries where Africans exist, but they don't have, they basically exist as second and third class citizens. These, John Thomas says, these are the types of realistic issues that will give us the respect to sit at the table of civilized societies of the world. Oda says, as with Killmonger, deny it all you want, but we're one of them, and we have just as much claim to Africa. Indeed. Kaylin says, I love Dr. Mumby, but she looked confused when Dinah started talking about nationhood. I disagree that she was confused. She seemed to be very solid on the fact that we should not have a nation of our own. She didn't seem confused to me at all. Brazilians. Do Brazilians? You know what? I can't really speak about Brazil, Jacob's dad. I would be speaking out of ignorance if I said anything. I know not anything about Brazil or what's going on over there. All of us who were so. Oh, all right. This is all right, Daniel. You raised an excellent point, and I'm going to address it. Fatty Black disagrees with me too. Well, that's good. This is my point. In the pecking order of importance, who do we put first? True. Jamaicans and all those other people were taken from the continent, but those people fought and they got their independence, and they have a country and a nation that they can control. Now, does that mean maybe you're misconstruing what I'm saying? Does that mean that somebody from Jamaica cannot apply to be a citizen of African? No, that's not what I'm saying. Of course they can. Of course they can. What I'm saying is African Americans specifically and Africans in other countries who are existing as second and third class citizens have not had a nation that they can control. Or at least they don't have one now. They had it when they had Liberia, but they don't have that now. What I'm saying is we need to have that on the continent. That's what I'm saying. African Americans and African diasporas. Now, if you already have a nation, like there's people in what he said? Oh, John Thomas says that's right. Hollips, don't back up off your point. Nah, I mean they have a point, and I understand what they're saying. You know, because I don't want to make it seem as if um dismissing or putting some type of rift between brothers and sisters from the islands who have a country of their own or a nation of their own. I don't want to make it seem like that. But my thing is, we need to start looking out for us. Why are we so concerned about people who already have something? Are they as concerned about us as we are about them? Let's just keep it real. Keep it real. It's like, why is it that African Americans want to put everybody else's interests above themselves? If you want to take care of everybody, take care of yourself first. We're sitting up here, we don't even have land of our own, territory of our own. But before we even get it, we're already talking about, well, what about so and so? What about so and so? Why not take care of your own people first before you start taking care of everybody else? I mean, am I crazy for saying that? Am I being divisive by saying that? Let me know. I seriously want to know. Because I respect you, brothers. I respect John Thomas. I respect Fatty Black and all of y'all. Everybody that's in this chat room. I ain't got no beef with you. But why is it that we constantly put other people before ourselves? We need to look out for us. And once we have something established, then we can start looking out for everybody else. But this whole concept, before, it's like you haven't even won the lottery yet, but yet you sitting up trying to figure out how you're going to take care of this person, this cousin so and so, and this other person. Take care of you. Get your situation straight before you start going out and worrying about everybody else's interests. That's all I'm saying. Because I know, like, and it's a fine line because me and Kyle have gotten into it because I feel like I'm not trying to separate myself from nobody. I'm not trying to separate myself and be divisive against continental Africans. And I'm not trying to separate myself and be divisive against other Africans outside of Africa who have their own nation and who have fought for their own independence. Like, all right, would Haitians be considered diasporans who fall under the same category as African Americans when they have Haiti? There's people that still the Liberians took the African American leadership, Afro American leadership, put them against some posts and shot them, killed them. And you got people still talking about how we can help out Liberians. Really? Having the native Liberians, for lack of a better word, expressed how they feel about our help, and you going by some laws that was established by people that's no longer in power anymore. I mean, to me, it sounds crazy. But like I said, I'm just an individual. My word is not the law. So this can be discussed. Daniel Kyle says it's not about putting anyone before us, it's about figuring out how to develop a strategy. I agree. And the strategy should be, how should African Americans, specifically in African diasporans in other countries who don't have a nation or a country of their own, how can we develop land, infrastructure, nationhood on the continent? And then after we do that, we can develop a strategy for everything else. But you can't develop a strategy when you don't even have a base of operations, because there is no we. I mean, let's get back to that. There is no we, there is no us, and there is no our. We have to first develop the we, the us, and the our. The tangible we, the concrete we, the concrete, you know what I'm saying? We have to develop that first before we can start helping everybody else. Haiti, Jamaica, Liberia all have treasonous leadership. True. No argument from me. But what that got to do with us? Shouldn't that be for them to take care of? We should support it, of course. I don't support treasonous leadership. But there is no we, Jeff Johnson. We haven't even developed or established our own we, but yet we're sitting here talking about the plight of the Haitians, Jamaican, and Liberian. Jacob Dad, that's all I'm saying, man. That's all I'm saying. Haitians are part of the diaspora. Of course they are. Anybody that has Africans that were stolen from the continent and established their independence somewhere else, of course, they are diasporans just like anyone else, but they're not the same type of diasporans as us. And it's great and it's important to draw that distinction because if you don't, other people are going to come in and take advantage of things that should belong to you. Look no further than the fucking civil rights movement here in America. Dr. King was fighting for rights for black folks, turned it into what? A people's party, and everybody but black folks benefited from it. So you got to be very specific in terms of what you're talking about. John Thomas, yo, one thing I don't do is wilt, brother, so you ain't got to worry about that. Where on the continent would you like it to be? Me personally, Daniel Cowles, Angola. I think the cat's out the bag in terms of me, but that doesn't mean where it's gonna be. That's just my personal choice. Because I just like the way it's laid out. I like the fact that it's coastal, so I can see the seaport there. I can also see the airport there. That's just me personally. I say let other African diaspora people define themselves to us and others in this bid for a new life. Thank you, Born. Jeff says, you are right. I agree. There is no we yet, not even amongst us here in America. You're true, Jeff. Darian, nobody pissed me off. We good. No, these brothers are respectful, man. These brothers are, first of all, they're all intelligent. And I've never been anti, like we can have a disagreement as long as we do it respectfully and intelligently. I don't expect everybody to agree with everything that I say. That would be stupid. But I am more than willing to have a conversation with them because they're good players. They're honest players. They're not full of shit. And they're not in here to just create division and strife. You know? Right. We don't beef, we're family. I ain't got no beef with anybody. But I like you see, my patience is short for people that's coming in trying to be divisive. And I can tell. I can tell. Anthony says Angola is good. Very little history of coon shit. Yeah. Fatty Black asked Daniel Cowles, are you a part of the BAIO? I guess Daniel has to answer that. I'm assuming he is since he's talking about it, so he must be. But yeah, man, that's what I want to talk about. This let me read the description of this show again. The title is The People, Fuck the People, Part 3. This is Part 3. The other two parts are in my archives. Ever wonder why it is so difficult to get people in either position of authority or high social status to stand up or say anything in the interest of the so-called people? The answer is simple. Because the people don't support those who work in their interests and fiercely defend those who don't give a fuck about whether they live or they die. So until the people get a clue, don't expect people with something to lose to put their neck on the line when they know the people will not have their back. And this is more geared toward people here in America. Because like I said, us African Senate progressives and nationalists, we already have our short-term and long-term goals. You know? So we're not interested in making America a better place. What we're interested in is establishing a nation of our own and having control over a piece of territory where we can control the policy on that land. That's what we're interested in. So this topic of the show is more dealing with what's going on here in America, because I rarely talk about that, but I felt the need to talk about it because I'm just getting tired of billionaires. This guy pissed me off for some reason. This Howard Schultz guy from Starbucks. Nobody knows who the fuck you are, dude. But yet you can pay big money to get on major television networks and major TV shows to announce a presidency that nobody gives a fuck about, all because you're a fucking egomaniac. And you actually think because you live in a place where probably nobody calls you on your bullshit, and all you do is sit around, smell your own farts, and get high off of them like it's some fucking delicacy. Nobody calls these rich assholes on who they are because everybody's trying to suck their dick and get a part of what they got. So they live in this goddamn bubble. I mean, if I was an advisor to this guy, I would say, listen, do you not know that nobody gives a fuck about you? Nobody knows who you are. Why are you spending all this money? You're wasting your money getting on these television shows because nobody cares about you. You should have gave that money to me. I would have put it to better use than ABC and NBC and The View. You stupid motherfucker. See, nobody talks to them like that. They sit around and say, oh, yes, Mr. Schultz. Oh, that's a great idea, Mr. Schultz. Oh, yes, you should definitely do that, Mr. Schultz. That's why I'm glad the guy called him out at the press conference and said that he was an asshole. Said he was an egotistical asshole, billionaire asshole. And that's something that nigga definitely needed to hear. And if you want to hear him say that to him, just click on the link in the description box because I put it there for all to enjoy. Fuck him. Fuck Jeff Bezos. Fuck all of these rich motherfuckers. Fuck the trickle down theory and all that bullshit because it's all bullshit. The reason why we cannot get in America, sorry for saying that. The reason why Americans can't get universal health care, free college tuition, and a living wage is because these motherfuckers are not paying what they're supposed to be paying in taxes. And then when somebody proposes that they actually pay it, they're labeled as a radical and extremist. And the people who should be on the radical and extremist side with the millionaires and billionaires who's fucking them up the ass every single day. That's the point of this show. And that's all I had to say. Anybody got any questions for me? Because I'm about to tap out here. Odar said the sad reality is that he's one of the real owners of this country. This country is a corporation and sees its citizens as workers. Yep. Brother Nubian says he's the some bitch in charge of giving those two brothers two. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I totally forgot about that. Oh, I didn't forget about it, but I didn't make the connection. You're right. You're 100% correct, Danubian. Monsieur says we would be completely transparent with the host nation from the beginning and quietly grow and develop our enclave with its own security structure and financial base. Yes, I agree. One thing I do like about this is what Bourne is saying. One thing I do like about China, they will kill the extreme rich and benefit state. Yes, I'm for the death penalty for billionaires. I'm for the death penalty for politicians and bureaucrats. I'm against the death penalty for the population. I'm against the death penalty for the population, but I'm for the death penalty as long as billionaires and millionaires and land, like these bankers, all the people in positions of power and your elected officials are the first ones to get their heads chopped off. Then I'm for the death penalty. You notice no one would ever say that, right? They'll say, "Oh, I'm for the death penalty. These murderers, they need to be killed." Oh no, 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 no. I'll give the murderer a lifetime prison sentence. Well, you know what? Let me not get into prison because I have I might do a show about how I feel about the prison system and what I feel should be done with that. So I won't get into that. But I will say that if there's going to be a death penalty, the first people that should be on the chopping block, and it should be the guillotine, because I think the guillotine is the most humane way to execute someone. That's what I feel. Like I've actually done research on this. Poisoning, blah, guns, blah, because all of those things might not actually kill you. You sever somebody's spinal cord through their neck, they dead. And actually, you don't even have to have them conscious when they're getting their head cut off. They can actually be unconscious. They can be asleep and their heads gets chopped off, and it's the most humane thing in the world. Ask the French people. Look at how France is. The France government will go to bat for their population. Why? Because they know that if they don't, there's a possibility their heads will be on that fucking guillotine, like it was during the French Revolution. The aristocrats in France know what it's like to have the population rise up against them and pull them out of their ivory towers. Unfortunately, America doesn't have that tradition because the people that started America were the English aristocrat, the people that already had money. They just didn't feel like being taxed, so they came over here to America to start their own country. So the population has never risen up against the aristocracy here in America before and threatened to put their heads on guillotines. So that's the reason why they don't fear their population like the French government fears their population. But I mean, people think I'm joking. I'm dead serious. If you do some research, the most humane way to execute is the guillotine. Only thing I would do is I wouldn't have the person conscious when they're being executed. I would have them be put to sleep, knocked unconscious, and they can mount their head on that guillotine, chop it off. That way they don't have to experience any trauma. You know, it's a humane way of killing them, which is more humane than the way that they kill us. That's just me. But that's me. Like I said, the views of Holip do not necessarily represent the views of the BAIO. So that's just my thing. Y'all can put that on me. Got nothing to do with Afrikan, nothing to do with the BAIO. This is just me spitballing on this. Let's see. Oh wait, Monsieur said something I missed. Oh, Jeff said. Oh, okay. Jeff said. Oh, I already read what Monsieur said. Jeff says, "What book are you currently reading?" Right now, I'm not currently reading any book. I'm doing more writing right now than I am reading. Um, there are a couple of books that I do have on my radar, but I'm not really reading anything right now at this particular stage. I'm doing more writing. I'm doing a lot of script supervision with a couple of my friends, like helping them work out stories and stuff like that. So that's what's been taking up the majority of my time. Um, Black people won't stop going to Starbucks or Waffle House though. But brother Danubian, you know why? Because we're here. Like this whole thing about protesting businesses is just ridiculous. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. We support everything. We support this system. Like in other words, Starbucks and Waffle House and all of these things are just aspects of the system that we already support. So it's like I don't want to support this branch, but the branch exists on a tree. So it's kind of crazy. I'm not supporting the branch, but I'm still supporting the tree. The only way for us to get out of this shit is to have our own, ultimately. I mean, people are going to order through Amazon. If you can get something cheaper through Amazon, you're going to order through it. That's just the way it is. And like I said, I don't have a problem with Amazon's business model in terms of how they um, do business. I have more of a problem with the workers not benefiting from the business being done. That's more of my issue with Amazon than Amazon as a business. I don't have a problem with any business. I don't have a problem with Walmart. I don't have a problem with Amazon per se. But my big problem is you're making a shitload of money and your workers aren't benefiting from it. That's what I got a problem with. I'm pro worker. I work in an old school situation. I have a union, and our union negotiates our salaries and our bonuses and all of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Our salaries stay in line with the cost of living because we have a union and fought for that. So I'm used to working in a union shop. To me, in this environment, not working in a union shop, wow, that is you talking about. No wonder people kiss so much ass. because you're working at the mercy of the private industry. That you're working under what they call um, employee at will, meaning, and look up this term on the internet or wherever you can try to find it. Employee at will, meaning that private corporation can tap you on your shoulder and say, "Get the fuck out." No 2-week notice, no nothing. You're an employee at will, meaning when I don't want you, you get the fuck out of there. But if you notice, when it's time for you to leave, they want 2 weeks notice. Nobody, like, if it were me, I'm not in that situation, but if it were me, I wouldn't give a company 2-week notice. And if they got a problem with it, I say, well, wait a minute, I thought I was an employee at will. There's nothing that says I have to give you 2-week notice. That's just a courtesy for you. Fuck you. Where's your courtesy for me when it's time for me to get fired? Do you give me 2 weeks to get my shit together? No, you tap me on my shoulder and say, get the fuck out of my company. So guess what? When it's time for me to leave, you get no notice from me. Tomorrow I won't be there. How about that? But it's always, like I said, ain't no fun when the rabbit gets the gun. When you shooting the rabbit and you ha ha and he and the rabbit is running all over the place, you cool with that. Let the rabbit get the gun and turn it on your ass. Now you want to call a timeout. Daniel Kyle said, personally, I say Namibia might be a better option. Maybe it will. Kyles, did you ever answer that question? Are you in the BAIO? Because if you got maybe you got a connect in Namibia, maybe you can do some diplomacy over there. Be some boots on the ground. Yeah, I ain't got nothing against that. Because Namibia was actually my second option. Angola and Namibia, those were the ones that I personally thought would be the best place for us to have our nation state. Born Allah says, Holip, at times you sound like my socialist brothers and sisters. We know you're not a pure greedy capitalist. Socialists, there are no real, like, are there real? There are some real socialists, but most of the, like, when you hear people in America talking about socialism, those are social democrats. They're not democratic socialists because there's a difference. Democratic socialists are post-capitalists. Social democrats are, it's a capitalist society but with a social safety net. I think well, I don't think every politician that you hear called a radical leftist is a social democrat, like a Bernie Sanders um, social democrat. Even though he calls himself a democratic socialist, that's not really the pure definition. He's a social democrat, meaning he's not against capitalism. He just wants a social safety net. And I think AOC and the rest of these people are the same. They fall under the same thing. The socialist boogeyman, like when they start bringing up Venezuela and shit like that, that's a straw man. Because he's not pushing Venezuela, he's pushing the Nordic countries, the Scandinavian regions. That's what he's pushing. Norway, Denmark, and shit like that. He's not pushing fucking Venezuela. So that's another trick that the fucking media does to get you, the working class person, to be against the people that's fighting for you. I'm glad you brought that up. But just remember, there's a difference between a social democrat and a democratic socialist. Social democrat, which is what Bernie Sanders, Alexander Ocasio-Cortez, I would say those are the top two. There's others, but those are like the top two, I would say, in terms of policy. They're for a capitalist society with a social safety net. They're not trying to eliminate capitalism. They're trying to provide a social safety net for the citizens of the country. A democratic socialist is against capitalists. It's talking about when capitalism is over, this is what our society is going to be. Therefore, the elimination of capitalism. There's some people that's for that. I'm personally not for the elimination of capitalism because I believe that capitalism is good within, if you put it in its proper place. I don't think the capitalism should be a part of the medical system. I don't think the capitalism should be a part of the I don't want to just say this outright because there's nuance to this, but I don't think that private companies should own or control things that are part of the government utility. Like, in other words, I have a problem with private companies controlling the electricity and the gas and the water. I think that those, if they are privately, if it's private, it shouldn't be 100% private. I'll throw that bone. I don't believe that the basic necessities should be taken care of by private industries. I think the basic necessities should be taken care of by your government, and you should pay taxes for those services. See, the problem in America is they tax the working class people, but you don't get benefit from your taxes. If you were to get taxed even a little bit more than you do now, but you get full benefits of your tax, you wouldn't even fucking care. Nobody in the Scandinavian region countries like Denmark and Norway and nobody's complaining about taxes. Why? Because they get so much benefit from the taxes that they pay. They don't have to worry about their tax money being sent overseas to be engaged in some fucking war. They don't have to worry about their tax money funding some $100 billion asshole. They don't have to worry about that. Taxes is only an issue for the rich because they know that if they're taxed, they got to give up some of their shit and they don't want to do it. So a fucking asshole like Jeff Bezos, who has $100 billion, he's going to pay off politicians so that he doesn't get taxed. That's the only people that give a fuck about taxes. Anybody that's under $10 million that gives a shit about whether the wealthy are being taxed at 70 or 91% is a fucking asshole. Are you kidding me? The people pushing for the wealthy to be taxed are trying to eliminate taxes for the working class. People under 250K, they're trying to lower your taxes. How many people in this chat room make over 250K or make 250K? And bless you if you do. Whew. I know I don't. I don't make 250,000 a year. So everybody that's up into that 250K mark, they're trying to lower your taxes as much as possible. They're trying to lower taxes on the working class people. I agree with what Fatty Black said. You make 50K, why the fuck you paying taxes anyway? If a motherfucker who makes 100 billion can't pay taxes after his 100 billion, or I should say after 10 million, why are they taxing you at your little 50K? Take your little 50K, go home, spend it, buy clothes, purchase property, purchase cars. Why are they sweating your little fucking 50K, but leaving a guy who makes $100 fucking billion alone? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This pisses me off, man, because it's so fucking, it's a no-brainer. If the Democratic Party does not pick Bernie Sanders as the person to go against Donald Trump, y'all know what's going to happen. Y'all know what's going to happen. If they pick Kamala Harris or if they pick Joe Biden, you're going to have Donald Trump for another 4 years. And why would they pick those two people when you know that they can't beat Donald Trump? Why would you not pick the person? If you go to every single poll going back to 2016 to now, Bernie Sanders is curb stomping Donald Trump in every poll. So in a general election, he's going to massacre Donald Trump if he was the nominee. But watch what's going to happen. Because like I said, there is no liberal agenda, y'all. The only agenda in this country is an establishment corporatist agenda. And you're going to get an establishment corporatist whether you pick a Democrat or a Republican or anybody else, or like this big billionaire who wants to be an independent. Doesn't matter. You're going to get somebody that represents the establishment, represents the corporate interests, represents bankers and all of this shit, whether they're a Democrat or Republican. So for people sitting up here trying to convince you that it's any different if you pick a Republican than if you pick a Democrat, or if you pick a Democrat or Republican, you're out of your fucking mind. And if you're going to pick somebody, Pick somebody that's actually policy-wise putting it out there that they're for the working class people and who has a history and a record of being for that. Or else you're a fucking asshole and you deserve every fucking thing that you get. And on that note, I'm going to get out of here. I'm hungry. I want to give me something to eat. But anyway, love you guys. Thank you for the likes. It's 41 people watching, 35 likes. So that's not bad. That's not bad. If everybody watching, almost everybody that's watching gave me a like. Darian, what do I think of Ralph Nader? I think Ralph Nader has policy positions that's for the working class people. So therefore, that's why he's demonized. And he won't run as a Democrat and he won't run as a Republican. So pretty much, you know, he's going to get demonized on all sides. He gets demonized by the Democrats and he gets demonized, well, not really by the Republicans, because they feel like if he runs as an independent during a presidential campaign, that he's going to pull votes away from the leading Democrat. So he actually, and the logic is that he helps the Democrat lose and helps the Republican win simply by virtue of the fact that he's running third party. It's a bullshit narrative, but it's one that, you know, people keep saying up until this day. Yeah, Davies. Jerk salmon. That sounds good. Oh shit, it's after 1. I can definitely get me some jerk salmon. Thank you. Thank you. I can get some lunch now. Breakfast menu's over. But anyway, holla at you good people later. I know I've said that like 3 times, but I'm really out of here now. All right. I'll talk to you all later and thank everybody for coming and showing up. All right. Talk to you later. Peace.